All right, so you wanted to learn more about this. AllyAllez.
AllyAllez.
Yeah, AllyAllez.
Yeah.
So we did a deep dive into their website and some related materials. And
Mm.
basically, this is like your cheat sheet to understanding exactly what they're about.
Well, what I thought was really interesting is that right off the bat, they're calling themselves transformation controllers and transformation instructors. It's not just consultants, you know?
Right, so are they saying,
Yeah.
like, we'll not only map out the route, but we'll teach you how to drive the car, too?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, interesting.
It's a very interesting approach.
But before we get into all that, like, who are these people?
Yeah.
You know, give us a little background.
So Allez
Allez
is the brainchild of Tom and Connie,
Okay.
based in Switzerland.
Okay.
And they have this really strong belief that businesses need to be more than just like cogs in a machine.
Mm-hmm. Especially in our service-heavy world.
Especially in the service world.
You need more than just a service now. You need, like, an experience, right?
Absolutely. And they have this tagline,
Okay.
flourishing lets DOIT.
Flourishing lets DOIT.
And it really seems to be the heart of their whole philosophy.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just about, you know, keeping your head above water, but it's about thriving, flourishing.
Right. And what jumps out to you about that?
Well, I think it really emphasizes the action part of it.
Mm.
You know, it's not just a report. It's not just analysis. It's like, we're
Right.
going to do something.
But taking action, it's not just talk.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool.
So let's talk about who they're actually trying to help take action.
Yeah, who are they targeting?
Okay, so AllyAllez seems to focus on two main groups.
Okay.
Small and medium-sized businesses.
Ah, those SMEs we hear so much about.
Yeah, exactly, the SMEs.
Right.
And then service providers.
Okay, so like my local co-op or
Yeah.
even public service organizations?
Exactly. They could even be a public service organization. And, you know, they're both really in the thick of providing services.
Right.
But why those groups specifically?
Yeah. Why those groups?
Well, they call out a few reasons on their website.
Okay.
They talk about information overload,
Mm-hmm.
not having a clear method for making changes,
Right.
and then the big one, actually implementing those changes.
It's one thing to have a great idea. It's a whole other thing to make it happen.
Exactly. And this is where AllyAllez is positioning themselves. Like,
Mhm.
we are the bridge between those two worlds.
So they're not just consultants. They're more like,
Mhm.
I don't know, guides, like
Yeah.
Sherpas for the business world.
Surface for the business landscape. I like that. That's a
Yeah.
great way to put it.
Okay.
Now let's get to the good stuff.
Yeah. What do they actually DO?
What do they do?
Right. Like, what are their services?
So they highlight three main areas of expertise.
Okay.
And I think this is where it gets really interesting.
Lay it on me. What's the first one?
So first up is what they call ethical change management.
Ethical change management. Okay.
And they've actually branded this as DOIT.
Do IT?
And they are actually accredited by the Association of Change Management Professionals, or ACMP,
The ACMP.
which is a pretty big deal in the industry.
Okay.
It means that they are adhering to a really high standard of ethical practice.
So it's not just about changing. It's about changing the right way.
Exactly.
Okay.
And they even offer a dedicated training program based on this DOIT framework.
Interesting.
But we'll get into that a little bit later.
Yep.
Let's move on to the second one for now.
Okay. What's number 2?
Number 2 is service intelligence.
Service intelligence.
And they describe this as the golden key.
Okay, hold on. I need some help visualizing this.
Yeah.
What is a golden key for a business?
Think of it like this.
Okay.
You have a door, but you can't open it
Right.
because you don't have the key.
Mm-hmm.
Service intelligence is that key.
Okay.
It helps businesses see their own strengths, identify new opportunities, and adapt to changes in the market.
So it's not just about reacting to what's happening around you.
Mm-hmm.
It's about being proactive, almost predicting the future.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay.
And this ties directly into their tagline.
Which one? Flourishing lets DOIT.
Yes, flourishing lets DOIT. It's about using that service intelligence
Right.
to take action and create positive change.
Okay, so I'm starting to see the bigger picture here.
Yeah.
What's the third piece?
Okay, so last but not least, we
Mhm.
have transformation controlling.
Okay.
And this is where they get into the nitty-gritty of actually implementing change within a business.
But haven't we already talked about change?
Yeah, but this is different.
How so?
This is about making sure those changes are actually successful,
Oh, okay.
both for the company and the people within it.
Right, because you can't have a flourishing business if everyone's miserable.
Exactly. And they actually use the terms service and trust to
Mhm.
highlight this.
Interesting. And how do they actually implement this transformation controlling?
Well, they have this 4-step process,
Okay.
which they call, and I'm going to try my best here, Kennenlernen, Conception, Kompetenzaufbau, and Coordination.
Okay, I'm going to need a translation on that one.
All right, so basically it's about understanding the client's needs,
Right.
developing a tailored plan, building up the skills needed within the company,
Okay.
and then coordinating everything to make sure the project runs smoothly.
So they're very hands-on throughout the whole process.
Yeah.
It's not just like, here's the report, see you later.
Right, exactly.
Okay, cool. So that's the three main things that they do, but
Yeah.
there's a couple more extra nuggets about AllyAllez that we need to talk about.
There are, yeah.
Okay, so stay tuned for part 2 where we'll dive into those.
Right.
We'll be right back.
Okay, so you ready for those extra nuggets?
I am. Lay 'em on me.
All right, so one thing that really stood out to me is their emphasis on cross-industry solutions.
Cross-industry, okay.
Yeah, they don't just stick to one sector.
Right.
They're pulling inspiration and best practices from all sorts of places.
So it's almost like they're saying, we're not experts in any one industry. We're experts in change itself.
Exactly. It's like changes the industry.
Okay, I've had.
And that kind of broad perspective, lets them bring fresh ideas to the table,
Right.
helps their clients see beyond the limits of their own field.
I like that.
Yeah.
Thinking outside the box.
Yeah, outside the industry box.
What else?
So another big one is their focus on sustainability and innovation.
Okay.
It's not just about quick wins.
Right.
It's about creating a future that works for everyone involved.
Okay, so they're not just helping businesses change, they're helping them build a better future. That's a pretty big claim.
It is, but they seem to be backing it up with some pretty interesting initiatives.
Like what?
Well, remember that DOIT training program we mentioned?
Yeah, the one for ethical change management.
Yeah, exactly.
Is it any good? Is it just a bunch of PowerPoint slides and stale coffee?
Actually, it's a collaboration with another company. So,
Called Asserter.
Asserter.
Yeah, and they specialize in ethical change management.
Okay.
And they're actually a qualified education provider for ACMP.
So they're legit.
They're legit, they're not messing around.
Okay, so AllyAllez is teaming up with the best of the best.
Yeah, exactly. And it goes beyond just training.
Oh, really? How so?
Well, they both emphasize something called the triple materiality perspective.
Triple materiality perspective. I've never heard of that. Break it down for me.
All right, so basically it's about looking at the impact of business decisions from 3 angles.
Okay.
Economic, social, and environmental.
Okay, so it's not just about profit. It's about the bigger picture. How does that actually play out in their work?
Well, for example, they have this thing called the Flourishing Future Lab.
Flourishing Future Lab. Hold on, they have a lab dedicated to flourishing.
Yeah, it's really cool.
What happens there?
They call it a project incubator,
Oh, okay.
where those big future-focused ideas
Right.
can take shape.
And develop into real-world action plans.
Okay, so they're not just helping businesses adapt to change, they're helping them shape the future they want to see.
Exactly.
I'm starting to see why they're so focused on flourishing.
Yeah.
It's not just a buzzword, it's like a mission.
It really is a mission.
Okay, cool.
And speaking of missions, there was something else on their website
Yeah,
that I thought was interesting.
okay.
It was about this idea of co-creation.
Co-creation, okay.
Yeah, and they had this webinar with someone named Bernard Moore.
Bernard Moore. That rings a bell, but I can't quite place it.
So he's a big name in something called appreciative inquiry,
Appreciative inquiry, okay?
which is a strengths-based approach to organizational change.
So instead of focusing on problems, you're focusing on what's already working.
Yeah, exactly. Flipping the script, focusing on the positive.
Okay.
And AllyAllez seems to have really taken this to heart.
Okay.
They believe that the best solutions come from collaboration. Working closely with their clients, not just telling them what to do.
Right, so it's about building trust,
Exactly.
empowering people
Yeah.
to take ownership of the change.
And that ties into the whole co-creation aspect.
Yeah.
They're not just consultants, they're partners
Right.
working alongside their clients.
But let's be honest,
Mhm.
not all change is sunshine and rainbows.
Right.
There's always challenges,
Yeah.
especially when you're talking about things like AI and automation.
Yeah, that's the elephant in the room, right?
Yeah. So how does AllyAllez address that?
Well, they don't shy away from the tougher aspects of change.
Okay.
They acknowledge that things like AI can create anxiety and resistance.
Of course, people worry about losing their jobs.
Exactly, especially employees.
Right.
So they focus on finding solutions that benefit both the business and the workforce.
Okay.
They seem to understand that flourishing can't happen if people are left behind.
Right. So it's not just about embracing new technology. It's about doing it ethically and responsibly.
Exactly.
Making sure everyone benefits, not just the bottom line.
That seems to be their philosophy.
Okay, so they're tackling some pretty complex issues here.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, what does it all boil down to?
I think it's this. They believe that businesses have a potential to be a force for good in the world.
Okay.
They can create value, not just for themselves, but
Yep.
for their employees, their communities, and even the planet.
That's a pretty bold statement.
It is.
But how does that actually translate into tangible results? Like, what does a flourishing business actually look like?
That's a great question, and one I think is worth exploring further.
Yeah.
Because if AllyAllez is right, and businesses can indeed be architects of flourishing, then that has some pretty profound implications for all of us, don't you think?
It really does. You know, we talked about ethical change and service intelligence and even this transformation controlling. But it's all starting to click into place now.
Yeah.
It's like they're not just consultants. They're more like flourishing evangelists.
Flourishing evangelists, I like that.
Right. They're not just helping businesses adapt. They're challenging them to rethink their role in the world.
Yeah, exactly.
So, okay, let's bring it all home.
Right.
If someone asked you, what is AllyAllez all about?
What is AllyAllez all about?
Yeah, in a nutshell.
I would say AllyAllez is about empowering businesses to thrive in a world that is constantly changing, but doing it in a way that's ethical, sustainable, and genuinely beneficial for everyone involved.
And they're not just talking the talk, they're walking the walk,
Right.
They have those partnerships, the Flourishing Future Lab, that whole approach to co-creation with their clients.
They're putting their money where their mouth is.
Right, and it all comes back to that tagline.
Yeah.
Flourishing, let's DOIT.
Yep.
It's a call to action, like an invitation to be part of something bigger.
It really is. It makes you wonder.
What does it make you wonder?
What would the world look like if every business took that to heart?
Like if flourishing was just the norm and not just like a nice to have.
If it was the driving force.
Yeah. It would be amazing, a world where businesses aren't just focused on profit, but on, creating a positive impact.
Yeah, on their employees, their communities, the environment.
It's a pretty inspiring vision.
It really is.
Well, I don't know about you, but I'm feeling pretty energized after this deep dive.
Me too.
AllyAllez is definitely a company to watch. I'm curious to see what they do next.
Yeah, for sure.
If you're as intrigued as we are, we highly recommend checking out their website.
Definitely.
They have a ton of resources there, even a presentation that goes into even more detail about everything.
They have a lot of good stuff there.
And on that note, that's a wrap for this deep dive. Hope you enjoyed learning about AllyAllez with us.
Thanks for joining us.
And until next time, keep learning, keep questioning, and keep striving to flourish.